Genshin Impact released in September of 2020, and before its release, I was kinda excited. From the pre-release footage, it was hard to tell what direction this game was going in. To my knowledge, there really hasn't been a gacha game like this before. A multi-platformed, new IP, open-world gacha game is just so unique that it kinda sounded too good to be true. So I thought there was probably a catch, like the open world would be boring, or that everything of substance would be gated by stamina, or that it wouldn't be free-to-play friendly at all. Because I'm free-to-play. I'm fucking poor. But all of that was changed when I actually sat down and played Genshin Impact for the first time. So here's why I think Genshin Impact is fantastic, and why I think it's something special. From week one, Genshin Impact was kinda having some problems, not gonna lie. The stamina cap, stamina being referred to as resin in this game, was frankly way too low, and the first event that the game released was, well, less than stellar. But this leads me to a quality that I think Genshin has over some other titles, and that's that the devs actually listen. Mostly. Now, they're not perfect, and sometimes they still focus on smaller things instead of the larger issues in the game. But generally speaking, they actually make changes to the game state based on what is resonating with the player base, and in live service games like this really works. They've made events much better, corrected some of the balancing of the game, made things more difficult, and overall been receptive to feedback. Speaking of difficulty, anybody else play on the PS4? I'm having some problems, and they're all load times, help me! The combat in the game is fantastic. While it can be a bit easy at times, even coming from a free-to-play player, they've added events and have the Spiral Abyss, which really tests your skills and your party. While you can definitely whale your way, mostly, to success, there's still an intricate combat system here that really relies on team synergy, more so than just power creep in general. While there are some characters that are undeniably better than others, due to the element system within the game and how the game is set up, multiple teams are needed to succeed, as well as multiple elements. And with how Spiral Abyss constantly changes, this means that leveling up and enhancing multiple characters is a must. It also means that almost every character can be good. Oftentimes you'll see gacha games have a rating system that guarantees that certain characters are bad and that others are good, that the star rating of a character dictates how good it is. But that's not necessarily true in Genshin. Some of the best characters in the game are 4-star rated, looking at you, Bennett, and even the characters given to you without pulling can beat all of the content, looking at you, Enviosity.
Piece of shit. Why does everyone get lucky but me? Huh? MiHoYo? Am I just not good enough? Is that it? Can I really not wish?
Also, based on the equipment system in the game, these being called artifacts, and the boons that they provide, some characters can initially be kinda meh, but once new artifacts come into play, they actually become better. Same thing with the new characters that are released. Again, because of the team synergy in the game, with the new character releases comes new team compositions, which means older characters that were just okay can actually become pretty great. All of this means that you're not penalized for investing into characters. Again, most gacha games don't do this. Usually you feel like you wasted materials and time on a character after a little while. Like, yes, you're using materials that take time and resin to receive, but you're also not putting it into someone who is pointless and will just be simply outclassed in like a week's time. Unless it's Amber. Just kidding. She was useful for 2 weeks. So, the developers seemingly listen to feedback mostly, and the combat is interesting and engaging, but what about the open world aspect of the game? Well, that's also done very well too. I mostly don't enjoy open worlds in games in general. This is because many developers don't really know what to do with all of the extra space, and they often just exist to waste a player's time, to make them feel like they're exploring, but they're really not. Genshin, on the other hand, actually makes its open world explorable and engaging. When you first boot up the game, you'll notice how beautiful everything is. You'll also notice all of the chests everywhere. But once you're done with the initial exploration and opening up all of these chests, the open world doesn't actually feel empty. Instead, due to the nature of having to find different types of enemies and materials used for the enhancement of your characters, the world still needs to be traversed. Yes, there are better grinding spots for particular materials and enemies, but even these spots are spread out enough to make them feel like the world is large. I'm honestly glad that we don't have a domain where you can farm monster materials or what have you, because the current way that the world is set up really allows for everything to still feel alive even after initial explorations. And this leads me to a central aspect that I think most people gloss over about the game, and that's how fucking cute these cats are.
Piece of shit. Why does everyone get lucky but me?
The variety in Genshin is insane. Initially, players weren't too keen on the less combat-focused elements of the title, and I think fairly so. Without knowing the design sensibilities of the creators yet, a lot of people were worried that difficult content and the combat focus of the game would be diminished. Instead, I think that adding non-combat focused features will result in the game having more longevity in the long run. I think that we shouldn't forget that Genshin is an open world game, that it has cities and inhabitants with intriguing backstories and a complex lore for the world itself. So having elements like the housing system or minigame focused events adds to the nuance of the world itself. Most gacha games get stale because of the lack of gameplay variety. I definitely don't think we'll get that with Genshin, at least not for a while. Finally, what about if you're poor like me? Well, no worries there either. I will make a separate video regarding how free-to-play friendly this game is, which it is, but even if you just played the game for a few weeks, just for the main story and side missions, there's really a lot here. It's still kinda crazy that the game is free, and that's mostly because casinos, baby! Gotta pull for your favorite characters.
Wow!
But if you're free to play, there really is a lot here for you. So ultimately, is Genshin Impact perfect? No, no gacha game is. There's still some odd choices made, and you've got to be patient with some of the aspects of the game due to the nature of gacha itself, but I do think that we're currently at a game state that Genshin really is at its peak right now. It just depends on if we're gonna keep going higher or fall down into the gacha depths. So I really want to go on this journey. I really want to see what Genshin has to provide. So that's why I made this channel. I do have a main channel named Literal Maverick, which is focused on gaming and anime in general, but I wanted to make a Genshin specific channel for the reasons that I've listed. I do think that Genshin Impact is something unique. I want to be there to call out its failures, but also to enjoy the experience for as long as it lasts. So if you want to take that journey with me, you can subscribe. I'd be happy to have you. And if you want to check out my main channel, it'll be linked in the description. So thank you for watching. I hope you stick around for whatever the future of Genshin holds.